Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in Guyana over the past week or so. And as is the norm, we always have a packed agenda of issues worthy of discussion. I want to begin by welcoming our viewers who are joining us on television from region number 5, West Coast, Berbice. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. To our viewers who are joining us on television across the Berbice River, on the east bank of the Berbice River, in New Amsterdam, Kanji, along the Quarantine Coast, of course, and beyond. Welcome to another program of Issues on the News. To our listeners and viewers who are joining us from Rob Street, Georgetown, and Freedom Radio, welcome to another program of Issues in the News. And last but not least, to all of you, the thousands of you who are joining me on Facebook Live right across the length and breadth of Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, and beyond. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. Please share this live. Press that share button on your phone, on your computer, on your laptop, on your iPad, or whatever device you are using to view this program. Share it so that all your viewers, all your friends, all your followers can join us in tonight's discussion. It is important that we have the widest possible participation. So share the live, share this program so that all your friends and followers can join us. I want to briefly mention Raji Maharaj, Winchester Borkel, Peter Basir, Zina Durga, Philip Gunraj, Rashid Indardat, Angad Jai Singh, Daisy Jawahir, Betty, Chris, and so many of you joining us from across the globe. Welcome to another program of Issues in the News. I want to begin by extending my deepest condolences and sympathies to the Ghafoor's family on the passing of Mrs. Amina Ghafoor, who died last Monday. To Mr. Ghafoor, Mr. Sattar Ghafoor, and their children and other relatives, I extend my deepest condolences and sympathies. From my little interaction with Mrs. Amina Ghafoor, she was a very kind, very loving, very warm person, and she was a great writer, and she made a mark in Guyana, both as a writer and as a philanthropist. She contributed significantly to many worthy causes over the years and would have made an indelible mark. Once again, to the Ghafoor family, I extend my deepest sympathies and condolences. And let's get straight into the program. So, I have observed with some degree of interest a recent trend whereby citizens are instituting legal proceedings against those who are publishing defamatory materials about them on Facebook in particular and on other social media platforms. I welcome this new trend. I am all for freedom of expression and free expression. But any law-abiding citizen will recognize that freedom has limitations. And your freedom to publish does not include the right to destroy the reputation and character of your fellow citizens. The law prohibits such publications. There has been an abuse taking place on the social media platforms where persons believe that they have the license to say what they want, to libel persons, to publish incitements, excitements of racial hostilities, publish statements that are racist and inflammatory, designed to cause mayhem and riotous conduct in this country, and statements of that ilk. You do not have a freedom of expression to publish those types of statements. And I am happy that the citizens of Guyana, the private citizens, are now taking their own private legal proceedings against these persons and are not relying on the state to exclusively address these matters. Of course, at the level of the government, we are addressing these matters insofar as these statements can cause public harm. We are working with U.S. law enforcement agencies. We are working with law firms in America retained for this purpose. And insofar as these statements can and are intended to cause public injury and injure the public interest of Guyana, they will be dealt with condignly by the government. And I welcome the citizens taking up the mantle and instituting legal proceedings against those who are using their social media platforms as a weapon to destroy the character and reputation of people. My colleague, Minister Devdat Indar, has instituted legal proceedings, and I see businesses, private businesses, who have been under attack and who feel, and perhaps rightfully so, that their character is being impugned, their business reputation is being libeled, and their family's reputation are being slaughtered, are taking the initiative of instituting legal proceedings. And I welcome that. I see in the public domain an argument arising that because something may be posted by someone on their Facebook page, and that someone is in the United States of America, or an interview which took place in the United States of America, because that interview took place in the United States of America, but broadcast and transmitted on Facebook, that the courts of Guyana do not have jurisdiction to hear and determine a defamation lawsuit filed in respect of that type of publication. In other words, that the courts of Guyana do not have jurisdiction to hear and determine a defamation suit if the defamatory words were published in a foreign jurisdiction. I reject that contention absolutely. That is not the law of Guyana, and as far as I am aware, that is not the law of any country. The law is very logical, and the law is very commonsensical. First of all, these are matters that have been settled some time ago, because the World Wide Web and the Internet are not new anymore. They have been with us now for decades. And while this type of litigation may now being launched in Guyana, they have been launched elsewhere, and that jurisdictional issue has been addressed and conclusively settled by courts across the Commonwealth and in the United States of America as well. But just let me break it down so that you can understand it in the simplest possible form. As I said, the law is logical and the law is commonsensical. So imagine, forget about the internet. Forget about internet and Facebook. Imagine if you are in the United States of America and you write a letter. And then you go to a photocopy shop in the United States of America and you make 1,000 copies and you post it to 1,000 homes in Guyana. And in that letter, you publish something that is defamatory. Are you telling me that the law is so blind that you cannot be sued in Guyana for that libel contained in that letter because you wrote it in the United States of America? And this has nothing to do with Facebook or nothing to do with the internet. Obviously, that is not and has never been the law. Let me give you another example. Imagine you are in New York and you pen a letter that is defamatory of someone in Guyana and you send it to the Stabroek News or the Kaichor News or the Times newspaper for publication. And those newspapers publish it. Are you telling me that because you wrote the letter in America, you are not liable? That could never be the law. Translate that now to the internet and to the Facebook. Whether you are in the United Kingdom, Canada, or Timbuktu, if you publish something defamatory about me and it is read or seen in 1,000 other countries, you are liable because the wrong takes place or the law is breached wherever my reputation is injured. So if the injury to my reputation or the reputation of the person takes place in Guyana, then that is where the wrong has been committed. And wherever you are liable in Guyana. Of course, the legal proceedings will have to be served on you wherever you are, and you will determine whether you will come to Guyana to attend the trial or you will allow judgment to be obtained against you in your absence. But your presence or absence from the jurisdiction does not mean and cannot mean that you will not be liable for the wrong that you have committed in this jurisdiction. And if you have used the medium of your Facebook account and Facebook platform, then you are liable wherever that post is published. And you are also liable for everyone who reads that post is a different publication. And every time that person shares that post and a new set of people read it, again, each of those things, each of those incarnations or actions can amount to a publication. And if the publication is libelous, well, so many times you are liable. I know that this is an issue that is gaining currency in the public domain. And somehow there is this belief that because a person may be in the United States, they are not liable for whatever they publish that is broadcast or transmitted in Guyana. That is a misnomer, and it's absolutely erroneous. I am all for social media. I am all for Facebook. I am on Facebook. I believe Facebook is a great forum and a great platform for us to communicate. This program is being aired on Facebook. But we have to use this platform responsibly and legally. We can't use this platform as a weapon to attack and destroy the character and reputation of people and their families. So I am happy that persons are now taking a position against this abuse. Hopefully, it will have a positive impact in bringing responsible publications on the Facebook platform. We simply can't continue with this level of lawlessness. We can't. Facebook was not invented for this purpose. And since I am on the topic of laws and fundamental rights and freedoms, last evening rather, I was invited to and delivered a lecture at the Arthur Chung Conference Center on the fundamental rights and human rights contained in the Guyana Constitution and how one can access remedies when those rights are violated. It was a long lecture. It lasted some 1.5 hours, and the lecture is on my Facebook page. I would invite you respectfully, when you have the time, to look at that presentation. It gives you an overview of our Constitution. It gives you a historical evolution of the Constitution. And it helps you to understand what the provisions are in the fundamental rights section of the Constitution, how the Constitution and those rights are to be interpreted, the responsibilities which go with the exercise of those rights, their limitations, and the type and how you can access redress and remedy when those rights are violated. As I said, it's a long presentation, but it's on my page, and if you have the time and you have the inclination, I will invite you to look at it. I hope after looking at it, you will have a greater understanding of your rights and your responsibilities as a citizen, not only of Guyana, but of the world. Because those human rights are not peculiar to Guyana. They exist in most part, well, not most part, in every part of the civilized world and every part of the modern world, almost in identical fashion. So please, when you get the time, look at the Facebook and look at that presentation. Again, I appeal to you to share the program, share the live so that all your viewers, all your friends, and your followers can join us in tonight's discussion. Also, if you want me to answer a question or you want me to address a particular issue, please place it in the comment section. I am looking at the comment section as I am speaking. So I want the program to be as interactive as possible. So the government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Education, has finally signed an agreement with the Guyana Teachers Union on August the 21st, which agreement has brought to an end a dispute between our teachers and the Ministry of Education. I have listened and looked carefully at the reaction of our teachers in particular to that contract, that agreement. And overwhelmingly, the agreement has been welcomed. Significantly, the union's General Council studied the proposals and voted in favor of the agreement being signed. The General Council of the Union, by the required majority, voted in favor of the proposals. And the union president and I believe the vice president then proceeded to sign the agreement. So it's not the president and the vice president acting unilaterally. They had the full force of the required majority of the council as is required under the rules before they signed that agreement. Lo and behold, as soon as the agreement was signed, Coretta MacDonald erupted into fury, casting all types of innuendos, insults, and accusations at the President of the Union and a few others. Now, rewind a little, and you will recall that from the inception, the government said that the strike was political, that there is a political component that is driving the union in a certain direction. And we made that very clear in the case that was filed by the union. We made that very clear. We led evidence to establish beyond doubt that the union executive had met with the Ministry of Education from the moment we got into government in August of 2020 until the 29th of January 2024. Over that period, we detailed to the court all the meetings that took place between the union and the ministry. And we detailed all the accomplishments that were made as a result of those engagements. We said to the court that at the last meeting of January the 29th, 2024, the meeting ended in great camaraderie, in a reconciliatory atmosphere, and without any hostility or rancor whatsoever. The meeting even was adjourned to a date in February. We put to the court the minutes of the meeting and what the union members who were present at that engagement said. They said that this engagement must continue, that the union has accomplished much from these meetings, and that they are happy to meet at even greater intervals or greater regularities. All of that were in the minutes of the meeting that we put to the court. That meeting ended, as I said, on the 29th of January 2024. It was adjourned to the 12th of February 2024. But lo and behold, by the 5th of February, just a few days, less than a week before that meeting was concluded on the 29th of January, on the 5th of February, a few days after, the Coretta MacDonald faction pushed for the strike, and the strike took place. And the APNU, AFC, and Lincoln Lewis, and all the usual suspects came out. That is what we were saying. It was politically driven. Now, the union has entered into a settlement that the Union General Council has authorized. And there you have APNU, AFC, and Coretta MacDonald cussing down the union, accusing the union of selling out, accusing the president of being a PPP member and supporter, and accusing them of betraying the workers. That is what we were saying from the beginning. So I say that we were vindicated. The ex post facto conduct, outbursts, and accusations of Coretta MacDonald vindicated the position of our government, which we articulated in the legal proceedings. Of course, the judge rejected us. He rejected our narrative and accepted the narrative of the union in arriving at his decision. Well, Coretta MacDonald has proven us right. Her accusations has proven us right. And that is what we were saying. And whatever Coretta MacDonald was saying, after the conclusion of it, of the agreement, after the agreement was signed. Whatever she was saying as the General Secretary of the Union coincided identically with APNU AFC press release dated August 16th. Go and read what Coretta MacDonald said on the 12th, just after the agreement was signed, and what the APNU AFC said in their press release on the 16th of the very month, 4 days after. If you read the two, they are identical, because Coretta MacDonald is part of the APNU AFC. She sits in the parliament with them. She is a member of the parliament for the APNU AFC, and she is a leader of the APNU and PNC. And that is what we were saying from the beginning. Fortunately, the strike is over and the teachers are back on the job, and that is what is important. Our government remains committed to working with our teachers and every class of public sector workers in this country to ensure harmony and to ensure good relations. The increases in salaries are going to come. They are going to come. And discussions will take place. Where we will have difficulties is when the politicians start to intrude and they make industrial disputes or industrial issues political ones. We will not support that kind of behavior. And we are entitled to take this position. We can fight our political battles. We know who the politicians are, and we can deal with political issues. But don't cloak them and package them to deceive anybody. And that's what Coretta MacDonald was doing. She was using the teachers' issue. She was using the teachers' issue to prosecute a political agenda. She didn't want the strike to end. That's why she was asking for 50% increase, knowing full well that there is no government that will ever grant 50% increase. Well, other than APNU AFC, when they raise their own salary, when they raise their cabinet member's salary, their minister's salary by 50%, they are the only government I know who raised salary by 50% in one swipe. But it is only their salary they raised. They didn't raise public servant salary. And as the vice president graphically and elaborately articulated at his press conference, APNU AFC is pouring scorn on 10%. But they never granted 10% increase in 5 years. Not once. And when they granted, I think at 9% they went as high as. It was on a sliding scale. It was on a sliding scale. Only a small number of persons got the highest percentage. So they have no moral authority to speak on this issue. But let's move on. I learned during the course of today that the City Council of Georgetown passed a motion by which they are moving to reduce rates and taxes and or write off rates and taxes for political parties. I have never seen I have not seen in recent times a more vulgar and shameless act. These people have no shame. The Georgetown Mayor and City Council cannot afford to even pick up the garbage of the citizens of Georgetown without a subvention from the government. They can't repair City Hall, their home, without a subvention from the government. They can't discharge most of their responsibilities without a subvention from the government. Why? Because their claim is they do not have revenue. That the revenue that they are receiving cannot fulfill their legal obligations. In other words, they are not collecting enough taxes. Against that backdrop, this shameless and disgraceful bunch at City Hall would like to reduce rates and taxes for political parties. Have you heard anything more outrageous in your life? They are not concerned about reducing rates and taxes of poor people. They are not, whole day they're talking about cost of living. Whole day they speak about cost of living. But they don't want to reduce rates and taxes for the very poor people whose cause they claim to champion. But they want to reduce rates and taxes for political parties. Obviously, APNU, AFC, and PNC owe rates and taxes that they cannot afford to pay. Obviously, the PNC and the AFC owe rates and taxes that they cannot afford to pay. And they get their acolytes at City Hall to move a motion to write off their indebtedness. And these people are seriously contesting to be the next government of this country. And these people are talking about accountability and transparency. And they are getting their acolytes in there to write off their rates and taxes. I mean, I know, and you know, how shameless these people are. But every time something like this happens, it awakes your consciousness, and you have to think whether they can get more shameless and more disgraceful than the last incident. Up to now, they will tell you full to your face that they didn't try to steal the last elections, that the PPP rigged the last elections, that 15,000 people voted, that I share out ID cards, and they would repeat these things over and over again, that the PPP government is installed. And this shameless bunch getting their acolytes at City Hall to write off their taxes. Can you believe that? I remember when I was Attorney General between 2011 to 2014, Hamilton Green, the then mayor, sold a property And how he got it is a completely different matter. He sold the property, and as I said, how he got it is a completely different matter. It was formerly government reserve and or city council reserve. But how he got it into his name, as I said, is a completely different matter. And he got it whilst he was mayor. He sold the property and had owed millions of dollars in rates and taxes and did not want to pay it. And the town clerk at the time, Carol Suba, stood up to him and said, you must pay it. And he cussed and he abused that lady. Millions of dollars. I think it was nearly $10 million. He didn't want to pay as a sitting mayor. And the more you live and the more you experience with these, the more experience you get with these people, the more you realize that there is no limitation to the shamelessness. There is no limit, none at all. These people continue to amaze you every single day. I want to revisit an issue that I spoke about some time ago. And forgive me for being repetitive, but sometimes we have to remind each other of these things. So we have a group of people in this country who have launched a crusade against the government of Guyana and against the oil companies. Now, I hold no brief for the oil companies. I hold a brief for the government of Guyana. This grouping have filed legal proceedings against the government. They have tried to shut down the oil operations, in the oil and gas operations in the country. They have tried to set aside the environmental permit. They have tried to set aside the contract between the government and the oil companies. And they have tried to do many things. And these are the enlightened people of our society. They believe that the oil company will completely destroy Guyana and will kill every Guyanese. And they have launched all manner of proceedings. I remember they keep suing, but they're not joining the Attorney General. They keep suing, and they're not joining the Attorney General. And when the Attorney General seeks to join, they say, I am in bed with Exxon. They write articles upon articles to say that I am in bed with Exxon. They publish on the Facebook page. They go on television. They speak on the social media. And they say that I am in bed with Exxon and the government is in bed with Exxon. And let me list their names. I have no problem with calling their names. Miss Melinda Janki, Charlena Nagir, G.H.K. Lal, Glenn Lal, the Transparency International people, the Radzik sisters, and a whole group of them. G.H.K. Lal wrote articles upon articles praising me how talented I am and how bright I am, but I'm using my talent to support the oil and gas industry and not the people of Guyana. Well, I have asked over a month now on this very program for those persons to say a word about Nigel Hughes's public position that he is in bed with the oil companies and he will remain in bed with the oil companies. This gentleman is not mixing matters. He is not sitting on the fence. He is telling you that he is in bed with the oil companies and he has been there for a long time, and worse yet, he wants to be president, but he will remain in bed with the oil companies. So he will continue to advise the oil companies against you, the people of Guyana, and against the government of Guyana. And whenever the issue of oil and gas comes up, he says some team appointed by him will deal with those issues. Imagine he appointing a team to deal with oil and gas issues on behalf of Guyana and the people of Guyana, but he will continue to advise the oil and gas people. So his team will advise you, the team that he appoints, they will represent your interest while he represents the oil and gas interests. So AFC got two factions. One faction, which is the leader, he is in with Exxon. And a team from the AFC will advise the people of Guyana. So AFC is in both places, or AFC is in both places. And this scholar, Nigel Hughes, up to now doesn't see a conflict of interest. Up to now, he doesn't see a conflict. In the same way that he couldn't see that 33 is a majority of 65, he can't see a conflict up to now. With him advising the oil companies and representing the oil companies, but a team from his party will represent the people of Guyana. So the AFC, living in both houses, that is a locus classicus of conflict of interest. But I want to get back to the issue. I want to hear what these people are saying about that. Why are they so silent? Why are they so quiet? Why not a word about this, but always cussing the PPP government and accusing us of being in bed with the oil and gas company? You know why? You know why the silence? Because they are never interested. They were never interested about any healthy environment. They were never interested in the ills or the supposed ills that the oil and gas industry can cause. That was never their concern. They were always critical, and they are inherently critical of the PPP government. They are opposed for whatever reason I don't know. I have tried to figure it out. I don't know if it's historical, if it is personal, if it is familial. I don't know where the hatred comes from, but they hate the PPP government and the PPP as a political party with a passion. And that is why in their eyes, we can never do anything right. We are a backward people. We should be walking in mud. We should be cutting cane and that kind of thing. That is their philosophical outlook. That's the only reason and rational conclusion I can come to. Because it doesn't make sense on any other ground. It's something perhaps deeply rooted in class. In class. And that is why they can accuse me of being in bed, because they don't feel that I'm qualified to even hold the post of Attorney General. I believe so. I'm still looking at, someone is asking, very good, where is the Transparency International? And that's what I've been asking. That's what I've been asking. I appeal to you, let us not abuse each other on this Facebook platform. I said, I just spoke about not using the Facebook platform to libel people and to destroy people's character and reputation. Ad hominem personal attacks do not advance a conversation. It's not intelligent, it's not sensible. And please, let's not do that. Here, I just explained to you, if you publish something that is libelous on my page, and if I keep it there, I can possibly be liable. I can possibly be liable for what you have published. That is how the law works. So please ensure that you do not abuse this freedom. It's a great freedom that we have. Imagine I can sit in my home and I can talk to you in so many distant places across this globe. That is what technology enables us to do. That is the advanced world that we are living in. Why you want to muck it up? Why you want to destroy it by using this great platform, which I'm talking to you on, as a weapon to attack someone you may have a disagreement with? Don't let us do that. Don't let us do that. On Saturday coming, the 31st of August, the Attorney General and the Lands and Surveys Department, the Guyana Lands and Surveys Commission, will launch an initiative at Leeds Village, Quarantine Berbice, to regularize that entire village. Leeds Village, Quarantine Berbice, it's a village that has been there since slavery was abolished. It's one of the villages that the freed slaves bought. And since then, those people living in those villages do not have titles for the land that they occupy. Come Saturday, yours truly will lead a team which will include the Guyana Lands and Surveys Commission as we begin the process to regularize that village so that each household in that village will eventually get certificate of title for the lands that they are living on. And that is an initiative of President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali and the People's Progressive Party government. That, my friend, is empowering people. Not going at some line top and dancing and telling people foolishness and causing them to hate and despise others and spreading racism. That will not empower anyone. Get up and get actions, not words. And that is what our government is about. Action. We are regularizing thousands of families on the west coast of Berbice already. We have distributed over 300 titles in Cotton Tree Village. We have nearly 1,000 more that will be ready soon. This is giving people title, kagaj, paper, for the land that they've been living on for generations as squatters. That is what empowering a people is about. My operator is signaling to me that we have come to program time. I want to thank you very much for spending the last hour or so with me. We have covered a lot of ground. I hope that you are now in a better position to understand many of the issues that we have discussed. I want to ask you to take care. We will meet again next week, Tuesday, to continue our discourse. Until then, stay safe and enjoy the rest of this evening and this week. Thank you.